Hi, I'm Venus O'Hara and welcome to another video. I'm in my co-working. I've just had to sneak out of my silent office to make this video to keep up with my schedule, my content schedule of publishing every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. So this is Friday's video. Today I'm going to talk about how to become a sex blogger in 2023. This is because someone left a comment on my video when I was celebrating 14 years of sex blogging, asking me to share some of my tips. And I must say that a lot has changed in 14 years, but these are some of the things that I would advise myself if I was starting out now. So lots has changed in 14 years. For example, 14 years ago, there was no one doing podcasts. The term influencer didn't really exist, so bloggers were a rarer breed. And also in the world of sex blogging, there were lots of people who were not showing their faces, which is really interesting. I think now people are a lot more open about sexuality and they're not as ashamed of showing themselves. Anyway, well, I'll talk about that a little bit later. So if you're going to start a sex blog, I would recommend, the first thing I would recommend doing is deciding on the name of your blog. Are you using your name, or is it going to be a name similar to the topic you talk about, or you're just going to create some random name? Whatever it is, make sure that all of your social media accounts and website, YouTube, what have you, has the same name. That's very important for SEO and for consistency. And it doesn't take very long to start any social media accounts, and also create accounts on all platforms, not just the ones that you like using the most. Then the next thing I would recommend is starting a website. Because after all, blogging is about writing. So are you going to have your own website, or are you going to be blogging on a different platform? I think it's easier to start on a platform that already exists, such as Blogspot or equivalents. But I think it's always good to be in control of your content as much as possible. And that's something I really highly recommend. So if you're going to start any written content, no matter if it's on your own platform, on your own website, or a website of something else, then I think the first thing you do is buy the domain. And then there's lots of tools now, AI tools that will help you with web design. It's incredible what can be done in just the space of a few minutes. It's unbelievable. I have a friend who's a website designer, and she showed me some of the tools that she is using, and I was blown away by how fast you can create a website these days. If you need any help, there's lots of resources online. You can just Google and then find out how to do that. And also, I think it's important to create a big stack of content. I don't know how many posts, maybe 10 posts or 20, something like that to start with. And then publish around maybe 5 to 10 for your launch day, and then have the rest scheduled. That's something that I would recommend when you start. I really regret that when I look back, not having a more consistent approach to publishing. I've been very kind of consistent for a while, then I've forgotten about it for maybe weeks and months on end because I've been distracted by other projects. But I think it's a good idea to get things done in advance and have things scheduled. Right now I have my erotic stories scheduled until the end of the year, so I feel really good about that. And also I have podcast guests for the next 5 months, which is unbelievable. So I think it's good to have things scheduled in advance. You don't know how busy you're going to get, so you might not have time to get these things up, because creativity does take time. So that's something I would really recommend. And also, when someone comes to your website, if it's just been launched, they're going to have more than one post to look at, and then they'll know when the next one's coming. I think it's good to have a consistent publishing schedule, so that if it's going to be every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday, every weekend, whatever it is, so that your following will know when to expect new content from you. And then you can drive the traffic to that website using your social media accounts as well. Then if you are really serious about sex blogging, then you might want to start a YouTube channel, or even using your image. So I remember when I started, a lot of people were not using their physical image, and that was really interesting to see how things have changed over these last 14 years. I think most people now who are talking about sexuality, just doing it in a very natural way, whereas maybe 10, 14 years ago, a lot of people were just, there was no pictures of them, so it didn't really create a lot of trust, in my opinion. I didn't really engage much with people who were not showing their image, because I always believed that it could be, it didn't seem very authentic to me. But I do understand why people would do that, because you might have this passion about sharing sexual content, but you might not want everyone in your family or your friends to know about it, or your work colleagues, etc. So you have to think about, are you serious about this? Do you want to make it your primary source of income one day, or is it just a hobby? So you have to think about that, because once you've got content out there, it's going to be there forever. And you might not want to be associated with sexual content in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years down the line. So you must really think about that. You must think very seriously, because it's not all fun and orgasms. There's a lot of judgment in this world, believe me. Oh my God, that could be another video. And last but not least, this would apply to anyone who wants to make content in general, I think it's good to make a content plan of different topics. And there's so much content you could make. You can make, for example, product reviews, you can make book reviews, film reviews, series reviews, you could make content in first person about your own experiences from just an experiential point of view, or it could be like a story, a memoir. You could write erotic fiction, you could write content based on the different sexual interests that you have. For example, it could be spiritual sex, sacred sex, it could be kinky sex. Or you can interview people as well. There's all these different ways of sharing content, and it's good to I think it's good to explore different things, unless you're very clear about what you want to do, and then you can see with time what's working the best and what you want to focus on. Because for me, when I started, my primary focus was on fetishism, and I was interested in many fetishes. I called myself a polyfetishist, and I was exploring fetishes that were not very, you don't really hear about that often, such as the nape fetish, balloon fetish, or ankles and long hair fetish. I mean, we always hear about things like latex and feet and what have you, but I was kind of going into those other kind of niches, and I was really interested in exploring all these different worlds, and then making photographic content as well, because that was the premise of my blog at the beginning, was to make written content to describe and promote my photographic work. That was the main thing. However, with time, I was going to these niches of fetishism, mainly for a male audience. But then with time, I actually started to make more mainstream content, and just talking about vanilla sex, normal sex, heterosexual sex, and then when I landed a column in El País, Spain's biggest newspaper, that's when I started to focus on sex toys and female pleasure, and then my blog turned into a sex toy review site. And I'm really glad that I had this openness to explore different things and not be so fixed in my ideas, because it was a very organic transition in my content, and these transitions were also reflective of my personal life as well. So it felt very, very natural, very organic, and I think I'm kind of glad that I didn't have these fixed ideas about which the directions I was going to go in. That's something I'd recommend to anyone who's a content creator, just to make all different types of content and then see what's working and then focus on that. That's really something I would highly recommend. So yeah, if you are serious about becoming a sex blogger, I hope you find these tips insightful, but I can't emphasize enough that make sure you are serious about it. That's my video for today. Thanks for watching. If you have any more topics or questions, don't hesitate to write to me at venus@venus.org. Thanks for watching.